Hi, my name is Aaron, this is my show Reeducation, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we're actually going to talk to someone directly, and that special someone is Mr. Jimmy Dore, an online comedian who recently did an interview with a Boogaloo Boy. This interview became a hot topic on Twitter and it started to trend, so I figured that I better talk about this because it's something that's, in the news. And it's something that a lot of people are paying attention to right now. So without any further ado, let's jump into it. So, hi, Jimmy. Like I said a moment ago, my name is Aaron. I'm a left-wing anarchist. A lot of people would refer to me as an anarcho-communist. And I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about anarchism, Boogaloo Boys, and the whole situation that went down. Because I think that there is a lot of information here that's being breezed over by the mainstream media. And we need to actually talk about the reality of this situation and not rely on a bunch of people's different opinions on the matter. Because to be completely honest, this is a very complicated topic and it has a lot of different moving parts and it's not exactly something that's super easy to just explain right off the bat. So first, to you, Jimmy, I watch your show. I watch it all the time. I've watched it actually for years. And though I don't always agree with everything you say, I like to listen to your opinions because I feel like they come from a, genuine place. I personally think that. A lot of people, for some reason, think that you're doing all of this as a grift. I don't believe that that's true. I believe that you're doing this genuinely and from the bottom of your heart, and you're doing the things that you think are the right thing to do. And though sometimes you land on the side of topics that I completely disagree with, I still like to hear your opinion on it because I usually think that it's well formulated and well thought out. Even though I'm an anarchist and I'm against electoralism in almost every case, I still sided with your opinion on the idea of hashtag force the vote, and I think that it is more important right now to be focusing on getting people health care than it is to be focusing in on one specific personality that happens to be abrasive projecting that message. Obviously, getting people health care is so much more important than just any one of us. It's much bigger than all of us, and it needs to happen now and not later. People are dying every single day right now, not just because of COVID, but because of many different medical reasons, and they need Medicare for all immediately. That's what saves lives, and especially in the midst of a pandemic. Now, saying that, I've also disagreed with you vehemently on a number of extremely important topics. One of the first things that I disagreed with you immensely on was when you were endorsing Andy Ngo. I believe it was over a year, maybe a year and a half ago. Andy Ngo is a known grifter, a known liar, and has been known to take actual evidence of real brutality and cleverly edit it, well, not so cleverly, but edit it in such a way that it always makes the left wing look bad. He's produced kill lists to Atomwaffen, of course a right-wing militia group who believes that nuclear war is a good idea. So clearly we agree on some things, we vehemently disagree on others, but I think that in this situation there's a good chance that we can have an honest, good faith discussion on the matter. And in regards to the Boogaloo Boys and their movement and their culture and what exactly Boogaloo is, I can talk a little bit about that. So yeah, all over mainstream media, you will definitely see everyone saying that the Boogaloo Boys are neo-Nazis and fascists, and they are and aren't. It really depends on who you're talking to, because the Boogaloo movement is somewhat of a diverse movement. They don't really have any certain ideological underpinnings other than the idea that they want to start a second civil war. Now, I say start and not prepare for, because their actions have shown that they actually want to cause violence rather than mitigate or stop violence. Now, we'll talk about that in a moment, but obviously the Boogaloo movement itself does have some background to it. It does have some sort of thing that they're pinning all of this on. And I would say that it mainly exists within right-wing meme culture. This is basically the full radicalization of the Pepe meme. If you don't know what a Pepe or a Wojak is, don't worry. It's not important. All that matters is that they are basically jokes that were invented online that people started taking so seriously, so ironically seriously, and then ironically seriously, and now just fully unironically seriously, that they literally use these images as symbols of racism, as fascism, and of a civil war, in this case with the Boogaloo Boys. Now, are some of them racists and fascists? Yes, obviously. Even your guest said that some of them are racists and fascists. He said that he wanted to weed them out and get rid of them, but that doesn't really matter because a strong contingency within that group are racists and fascists. Are some of them less racist and probably against war, anti-imperialism, against ICE, pro-legalizing drugs, pro-Medicare for all, that sort of thing? Yeah, probably some of them are. But the problem with that is we don't really have a cohesive narrative to pin on these Boogaloo Boys entirely. And really, the majority of them only come together because of their agreement on one thing. Well, two things. One, they fucking love guns. And two, that they want to start a civil war. Civil War II, Electric Boogaloo, it's in the name. The one thing that we can say that they ideologically agree on is that they want to start something. And like I said a moment ago, we know that it's not that they want to prepare for one because of their actions in real life. And I'll talk about that right now. So whenever you see Boogaloo Boys around, what are they doing? They say that when they're in Black Lives Matter protests that they're protecting the people that are protesting. But they also say that they're protecting the property there so nothing gets destroyed. Sometimes they show up and solely protect property. Well, who else goes to protests armed to the teeth and specifically there to protect property? The police. See, context is key when it comes to these sorts of things. Is it a good or a bad idea to go to a protest armed? Well, you're in a dangerous situation. It might be a good idea to protect yourself. Is it a good idea to go to a protest with the intent to shoot somebody because they're burning down a building? Well, probably not, because that human life is worth more than the insurance that it's going to cost for that building. If it is true, if it is actually the case that they have a diversity in their belief structure or opinions within the group itself, it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, the thing that they're all coming together for is accelerationism. And we don't need a civil war, not right now. If we can help it, we want to do things as peacefully as possible. Is it a good idea to prepare for violence? Absolutely. There are people walking around in the streets right now armed to the teeth, police specifically, but fascists in general, and not to mention all kinds of other people who just want to hurt and kill people. Sometimes people don't need necessarily a specific ideological reason to go do bad things. Sometimes they just need an excuse, right? And in this case, a lot of these people are using that excuse. The way that you build a revolution isn't by arming yourself and going and protecting a gas station at a protest. Doing that is only going to bring upon you and other people around you more violence, because you're essentially putting the ideas of property rights over people. And that's not something that we need to do. The way that we build a revolution is every day on the ground. Is it important that you prepare and do things to make sure that if violence does happen, you're ready for it? Absolutely. I'm an anarchist too, and a leftist, and I am pro-gun. I believe that everybody should be doing training and should be getting prepared for something that could happen. But do I think that you should be marching out into the street with your gun loaded and ready to kill somebody because you want to violently overthrow the government or shoot your neighbor because they just smashed the window out of a 7-Eleven? No, absolutely not. What we have to be doing is things on the ground like community building, like getting together with your family, your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues, your comrades, and doing things that actually help people. The left, the real left, has a real solution to these problems outside of electoralism and this democratic right-wing party, left-wing party dichotomy bullshit. The solution isn't starting more war. The solution isn't attacking one another because of property rights. At the end of the day, if all we care about is destroying the state but keeping the economic underpinnings of the system that keeps us in subjugation is our only goal, then we will inevitably end up with more of the same problem, because without the state reining capitalism in, we will have unfettered capitalism just like we had during the 1920s, or worse. We could revert back to just slavery. Instead of hiring people, they would just buy and sell one another. Anarcho-capitalism, which is essentially what people are advocating for here, libertarian capitalism, when you completely get rid of the government and all you keep is the rich elite, then you have a worse problem. And that's exactly what this one Boogaloo individual was talking about in your interview with him. He said that he was anti-government, pro-capitalist. If you're anti-government and pro-capitalist, that just means that you're going to revert back to a system that's basically feudalism. It's essentially just asking for new slavery. Now, I will say that the optics of the interview were a bit confusing. What you ended up having was a young man who is clearly disaffected, out of a job, doesn't have health care, doing anything that he seemingly can to try to protect himself against something bad that's going to happen. That was the optics. I don't agree with that actually being the case, but that was the optics. And then immediately afterwards, you had an older gentleman who worked for a socialist organization, who wanted for nothing, had probably a steady income, and was an intellectual, basically giving an intellectual reason on why basically this Boogaloo Boy was wrong, and that all of his reasons for doing what he was doing were bad, and that he was a Nazi and this, that, and the other thing. And it came across basically as though it was the right-wing narrative, where you have these disaffected working-class people getting up and trying to fight, and then the intellectual socialists inside of the university saying, no, 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 you're all fascists, blah, blah, blah. That's not exactly what was happening, but that was the optics of what happened. And I just want to say, from another young, disaffected, anarchist perspective, who also lost their job in an economic crash, and who also has a working class background of being a construction worker just like you, Jimmy. I know that you're a bricklayer. I was a tin basher, man. And I can tell you right now that this isn't the direction that you want to go in. That guy may have seemed like he was coming up with a lot of the right positions. It may have seemed like you were ideologically on the same side as each other, but you really weren't. And at the end of the day, even all of those things, all of those nice things that he said, even if he wanted all of those things, he could never attain those things through the Boogaloo movement or through any of this at all, because it is inherently against the ideals of liberty, freedom, equality, democracy, and everything that we stand for. Because even if it was to abolish the state and say all of these flowery words, we would inevitably end up with the exact same system as we have now. Let's not forget that the ideals of liberalism, liberal democracy, is liberty, freedom, equality, fraternity, all of those things. And yet they still had slavery, had exploitation, today have prison slavery. All of those things still exist in this system and have always existed in this system because we hold above all else the accumulation of capital than actually helping people in real life and saving human lives. And if we destroy the government and just keep the economic system that keeps us under control, then the idea of a revolution, a real revolution that will bring us actual justice and equality, is impossible. At least, that's the way I look at it. If you do get a chance, please check out all the links in the description box below. Hit that little bell button because you know that they're not going to let you know when I've released a new video. And make sure you're subscribed because they're unsubscribing people every single day. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day.